All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a fantastic chapter for One Piece, and now it's time for Jujutsu Kaisen, because what we were left out on with the last chapter was by far one of the most interesting things to happen in the series thus far. Ogata-san, it's always good to see you. Let's begin. Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reaction and review. Last we left out on, we had Sukuna, clashing with everybody, but then he had a moment where he was actually musing to himself about how he couldn't comprehend everyone having ideals, and why it was irritating him that everybody had ideals, because he thought, like, I kill who I want to kill if they got my way, I eat whatever I want to eat, I do whatever I want, I never had any ideals, I just did what I wanted, and that was that. But he can't comprehend how people have the ideal of beating him, and why it's irritating him so much. So while all this fighting's happened, it looks like Yuji is facing off against Sukuna, and it looks like Sukuna is about to deliver a lasting blow, a very substantial blow to Yuji. Before that happens, however, he gets intercepted by Yuta Okotsu, and in the process, Rika comes out and starts clashing with Sukuna because Sukuna is, insulting Yuta. So now, what we are left with, ladies and gentlemen, is an individual known as the King of Curses versus the entity known as the Queen of Curses. And we're about to see a clash between these two extremely powerful beings go up against one another. So it should be interesting. So let's begin with chapter 249 in Human Makyo Shinjuku Showdown Part 21. And this cuts to when Yuta It cuts to Yuta when he cut off Kenjaku's head. My will shall be carried on. And then Kenjaku's body starts, his heart starts beating, with Yuta going, Rika! I knew it. Kenjaku losing control is causing curse manipulation. Causing curse manipulation to go on a rampage. As tons and tons of cursed spirits just erupt from where Kenjaku's body was, from Geto's body, and just tons and tons of cursed spirits just pop out, and Yuta just starts doing what he does best, and he just starts cutting them down. Some of them make it out into the forest, but there's just so many cursed spirits that Kenjaku has consumed and subsumed and gained power over, that they start spilling out of the forest and onto a nearby bridge. But as they're making their way across the bridge, Rika appears and proceeds to start bodying every single one of the cursed spirits that are trying to make their way across the bridge. She's just ripping them all apart. And then it cuts to the head of Kenjaku that's still speaking somehow, going, Kogane, add a rule. Make it so Megumi Fushiguro has the authority to activate the merger of humankind by Tengen. And as that's happening, it shows like this weird stalk holding Kenjaku's head as Yuta's looking on as he's dragging Takaba behind him. Huh? As you wish. Rule 15. Megumi Fushiguro has the authority to activate the merger of humankind by Tengen. And then it cuts to Kenjaku as he says, I need a backup plan. Sukuna has undergone the ritual of succession. Now if I use the culling game as a basis for overriding the originator of the ritual for merging, and it shows that Kenjaku has been keeping Tengen's body with him, as it's inside this encasing. And Yuta can only respond, Tengen? As Tengen's body starts to change. And then it bursts out of this casing and starts to fly. It starts to fly in another direction. And then it shows Yuta embedding his sword into Kenjaku's head. And since Kenjaku's brain being transplanted is the way his technique works, Yuta basically is killing Kenjaku right here. He's literally going for the head. It wasn't 1,000 years worth of fun, but I'm glad I fooled around with that guy at the end. You guys are next. I'm sure it'll be amusing. As it cuts back to where we are now, and when he says, I'm glad I fooled around with that guy at the end, he's specifically talking about Takaba, who's just laying there smiling. Mind you, I'm pretty sure Takaba is still very much alive, but whatever Tengen has turned into, it bursts out of the casing, starts flying in another direction. Yuta stabs Kenjaku directly into his brain, and then we cut back to the present, where Rika and Sukuna and Yuta are all on one rooftop, and it's a three-way panel as it shows Yuta, Sukuna, and Rika. And it shows Sukuna's hand sizzling as Yuta thinks, Sukuna's reverse curse technique output is returning. It's only a matter of time before he can use his domain again. Even worse, he defeated Higuruma, because I didn't stay. Should I have stayed and lent my full support to the plan involving the Executioner's Sword? Would Maki have been better suited for sneaking up on Kenjaku? No. Rika's strength would have been indispensable for reducing human fatalities if the out-of-control cursed spirit manipulation technique had caused cursed spirit discharge on a maximum scale in Shibuya. Then it shows like a black... It shows something passing over Sukuna as Yuta tries to stab towards Rika, but when he tries, Rika gets in the way and stops him. And in the no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Rika passes in front of Sukuna so she can block his view so that Yuta can actually stab him. Sorry, that's such a basic technique. How did I overlook that? I apologize. It's a basic bait and switch. Blind your opponent so they can't see you, and then hit them where you know you'll hit them, but they can't see the attack. So Yuta tries to attack Sukuna, but he catches the blade, and then starts trying to destroy the blade. And there's a grinding sound coming from Sukuna's hand, with Yuta realizing he's surrounding himself with minuscule cutting attacks like a chainsaw to seize the katana without touching the blade. And he's trying to take the sword away. So Yuta lets go of the sword. Then it cuts to Sukuna looking at Rika. And Sukuna backhands Rika while also blocking one of her hands, while Yuta lands a hit on Sukuna's stomach. And you know, Sukuna's stomach also has a mouth, so it's literally Yuta punching Sukuna in his stomach mouth. Then Yuta takes his sword and tries to swipe at Sukuna, who dodges. Then it shows Rika, who's picked up like some sort of vending machine. Yeah, it looks like a vending machine or an AC unit. She picks it up and throws it at Sukuna, who immediately destroys it. Then it cuts to him clashing. It's just showing Yuta, Sukuna, and Rika all fighting each other. I've been making excuses. I wanted to defeat Kenjaku with my own hands. I created this situation. This is all my fault. So? And then it shows Yuta's hand as he goes, Domain expansion. Yo! We finally get to see his domain expansion! Yo, we got teased when he was fighting the air manipulation chick, I forget her name, and then the Iguro guy, the guy with the pompadour that can shoot out just dense cursed energy like a full-on head beam. I thought my phone's ringing, it's not. They all said domain expansion, but they got interrupted. Now we get to see Yuta Okotsu's domain expansion! Domain expansion. Authentic mutual love. And the whole area just turns into like this vast, dilapidated, destroyed building area that almost looks like, interlocking torii gates. But in this area, and it has like this surrounding tied obi ropes in the air, and the whole place is just full of katanas. We're getting Yuta Okotsu's domain expansion! But Sukuna's in this domain, and there's swords everywhere. Mini swords, big swords. It's a sword domain expansion. And then it cuts to Sukuna, who uses Hollow Wicker Basket. as Yuta grabs a sword and immediately goes for Sukuna. And he immediately hits Sukuna, but the sword cracks, and then we get Yuta with the thin icebreaker, and there's an explosion from the point of impact. And it cuts to Yuta, whose sword gets destroyed, and then he says, So, I will finish everything with this domain. And then the smoke clears, and it shows that Sukuna has been damaged. His left eye has been damaged. He's bleeding from this. So as strong as he is, he's not resistant to this domain expansion. And it's just the Keyblade Graveyard in the Kingdom Hearts games, where it's just an endless array of swords. It's just endless swords everywhere that Yuta can use. And Sukuna realizes, I see. This is their second plan. Thanks to Megami Fushiguro's memory, I know that the possessed brat's curse technique is copy. They want to keep half my arms and mouths busy by making me keep using Hollow Wicker Basket as a means of countering the can't-miss attack. Probably the Angel's Curse technique that comes with a domain. And to attack with unlimited curse technique copy, which appears to only activate within the domain. And it shows Sukuna thinking of when he was clashing with Yuji. Then the boy will deliver a blow that captures the soul and tears Megami Fushiguro's body from my body. How nice. Everyone has a role. So, Sukuna knows what they're doing. He knows what they're trying to do. We're in a domain expansion that will allow Sukuna to be put on edge. Instant hit attacks that he'll just have to keep using Hollow Wicker Basket with. But apparently, it's still not absolute because your man done got cut in his shoulder and across his eye as well. So it's like, no matter how much he tries to use Wicker Basket, it's not going to be guaranteed that everything is it's not going to be guaranteed to protect him. But the plan is that they're going to keep his arm. He knows that the plan is for them to keep his arms and mouths, and he said mouths, plural, his regular mouth and his stomach mouth, occupied so that Yuji can deliver a solid hit on Sukuna that will separate Megumi from Sukuna. That's the plan. The whole plan was to get Sukuna inside of this domain expansion. Man, Ogata, Snow the Sneaker Blurred, man. Takako Udo, thank you. Makes me think of Byakuyo's Bankai Senbon Sakura. Yeah, he literally said, domain expansion, Senbon Sakura. And he's just in this whole area where it's just, you know what, I gotta look this up. I gotta look up this domain expansion. I gotta look it up. Because if Sukuna's explanation is how it is. So let me go down to his abilities and powers, because y'all know I like to read up on this. Y'all know I love to read up on this. I'm a nerd for this stuff. I'm a nerd for powers and abilities from fictional characters. That's my bread and butter. I could read hours and hours of that stuff. But going down to his domain expansion, hold on, sorry. Curse techniques. There we go. Innate technique enhancements, domain expansion. All right, so the domain expansion is called Authentic Mutual Love. The domain is a field of cross-like structures littered with countless katanas and encircled by ropes tied together in a fashion symbolic of love. So my assumption of calling it obi ropes, you know how we've seen with obi ropes on the back of people like Yamato or Kozuki Oden in One Piece, or even Orochimaru in Naruto. It's not tied that way. It's tied in a knot that symbolizes love. Yuta can wield any of the katanas and activate copied curse techniques without any restrictions. Copied curse techniques also serve as a sure hit effect of the domain. So the thing that gets me, thank God for the wiki, thank God. So the thing that gets me, wow, you guys are not here in chat. I am so sorry. Hold on. Y'all are supposed to be there. Cause I had I had done my One Piece reaction, and I forgot to include the actual logo into it as well. There we go. For all you guys here, I want you guys to be displayed in what you guys are said here as well. So, the thing is, we know Yuta has the ability to just straight up copy other curse techniques. It's just straight, it's called copy. That's his innate technique. While connected to Rika, Yuta can copy innate techniques and use them. He can even use multiple different techniques that he's copied in quick succession. The conditions under which he can copy a technique aren't fully known, but it is implied he gained the ability to copy Uro's technique when Rika consumed her arm. So the thing about Yuta's domain expansion is that he can use any copy technique he knows right then and there. And that functions as his sure hit. See, the thing about sure hits and domain expansions that we know of. Sorry, I didn't tell you I was caught up in the chapter. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. It's on me. I got to make sure that these things are up to snuff, because it's on my end that I got to make sure these things are fine. But it's all good. It's all good. I just want you guys to be seen off to the side. So what we know, and that's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the chapter with Yuji there, inside this domain, Yuta in here, and then Sukuna, knowing the plan that they have, him just being all like, how nice, everyone has a role. Because he knows that they're going to try and separate him from Megumi inside this domain expansion. So, the thing that gets me is that Yuta's ability to copy any curse technique is not something to sneeze at. The ability to copy innate techniques from others? I mean, innate techniques are things, like, if I even go over to the whole deal of innate techniques, they are unique abilities, congenitally engraved into the user's body, specifically in the right prefrontal cortex of the brain. Sorry, that congenitally word messed me up, so some words escape me sometimes. Are unique abilities congenitally engraved into the user's body, specifically in the right prefrontal cortex of the brain. Most jujutsu sorcerers are born with an innate technique that manifests around the age of 5 or 6, which continually carves its formula into the user over time. It's literally like that person's Kekkei Genkai, if you will. Innate techniques are proprietary and comprise 80% of a sorcerer's intrinsic skill set, making them nearly impossible to mimic. Not unlike a copyrighted computer program. When an individual refers to their own personal curse technique, they are generally talking about their innate technique. In almost all cases, an individual possesses only a single innate technique. In especially rare cases, someone may possess more than one. Kenjaku, who can switch bodies, has access to the technique carved into the body of his vessel. However, even Kenjaku can only I think they forgot to put Kenjaku in here in this statement. However, even Kenjaku can only possibly possess a maximum of 3 or 4 innate techniques, 3 to 4 innate techniques at one time. Yuta Okotsu can only utilize numerous techniques because Rika serves as his external aid. Otherwise, too many innate techniques will overload the user's brain. But the thing about Yuta, however, is that with Rika and his domain expansion, he's essentially able to use any innate technique he's copied freely. Now, mind you, I literally just went through the description of what innate techniques are. They are that person's personal techniques. They are specific to the individual. They are not something that can be just like taught to just in and every person. It's literally engraved into that person's body. But Yuta has the unique ability to copy techniques that are specific to an individual. And of course, it has the restrictions when he's using it normally. But in his domain expansion, we now know that he can use any of his techniques freely, without restriction, and it also functions as his sure hit. Rika, the external hard drive. Rika, the NASA-level SSD. Rika with her 400 terabytes of space. No, let's go 500. Let's go 500 terabytes of space. And I know it's ridiculous to say 500 terabytes, because what's higher than a terabyte? I don't know. I know terabytes, but what's higher than that? What's higher than a terabyte? But that's essentially what Rika is. Her ability, her being linked to Yuta, essentially gives him not only unlimited cursed energy, but allows him to use his cursed techniques inside of his own domain expansion freely without restriction. That's ridiculous. Because of all the techniques that we know that he's capable of doing, he's capable of using cursed speech, shikigamis, and sky manipulation, which he took from Takako. And then Thin Icebreaker is a technique from Takako, the woman that can manipulate the air around her. Petrabyte. Thank you, Ogata. I learned a new size for hard drive space today, because I never took the time to actually learn that. But Yuta uses Thin Icebreaker, applies Takako's technique offensively by hitting the surface of the sky, not his opponent directly. Kind of like Whitebeard with his Quake fruit. He's capable of damaging people without even touching them due to the Quake fruit's power. He hits the surface layer of the sky and shatters it like thin ice, striking his opponent with that effect. That's the exact technique and the exact attack that he used against Sukuna, and it worked. And also, another technique that he has is called Technique Extinguishment. Yuta has replicated the Angel's technique that allows her to nullify all Jujutsu. Think about that for a second. Yuta has copied the Angel's technique that allows him to nullify all Jujutsu. Just straight up nullify techniques. He likely imbued this technique into his domain expansion's barrier as its sure hit effect when he activated it against Sukuna, forcing the latter to use Hollow Wicker Basket to avoid being stripped from his vessel. See, that's the big concern. That's the big concern of Sukuna. The reason why he's using Hollow Wicker Basket is to avoid the sure hit effect of Yuta's domain expansion, because it's also imbued with Technique Extinguishment. And if it hits Sukuna, it has the capacity to allow Sukuna to be separated from Megumi. That's why he's using Hollow Wicker Basket, to avoid that. Sukuna is now in a domain that has the potential to rid him of the very vessel he worked so hard to get. And with Yuji there, it's only going to make the situation harder for Sukuna. Now, mind you, that does not mean that they're instantly going to win. It does not mean that everything is just going to go smoothly for Yuta and Yuji, because as we know, when it looks like things are going well, it has the high probability of going very, very poorly. Such was the case when we thought that maybe Yuji had a chance of stabbing the Executioner's sword into Sukuna, but Sukuna avoids Yuji, and they miss out on their chance. So I'm not going to say that with Yuta here, then victory is assured, because with Sukuna here, victory is anyone's guess. But the fact that we finally got Yuta's domain expansion, I'm incredibly grateful. But the fact, it's crazy. Yuta is crazy strong. And if I go over here to Yuta's capabilities, and just his cursed energy overall, his cursed energy capacity exceeds that of Satoru Gojo. That's what it says here. His level of cursed energy is higher than Gojo's, so his potential is incredibly high. And like I said, it's anyone's guess how things are about to go. But all I know is that with Yuta here and Yuji here, we are about to see some serious fighting going on. And Sukuna is going to keep using Hollow Wicker Basket because it's going to be the only thing that allows him to keep the very thing that he's worked so hard to take control of. And that's just funny to me. And if I pull up Hollow Wicker Basket so you guys can get a basic understanding of it, Hollow Wicker Basket is an anti-domain technique and predecessor to Simple Domain. The technique is description usage. Let me see usage. It neutralizes a domain's barrier imbued with a curse technique to nullify its guaranteed hit. However, it cannot neutralize curse techniques themselves, making it ineffective against incomplete or non-lethal domains. So while Sukuna can avoid he can nullify the sure hit of the curse techniques that are aimed towards him, it does not nullify Yuta just using the curse techniques Normally, it only nullifies the sure hit of it, but it doesn't nullify the technique itself. So now Sukuna can only use Hollow Wicker Basket to avoid that sure hit hitting him, but it does not stop the curse technique if Yuta just uses it normally. So like I said, it's anyone's guess where things will go from here. This series is incredibly unpredictable. When it seems like things are going well, sometimes they go very poorly. It's incredibly unpredictable. And that's what makes me keep coming back to this story, because I want to see just what unpredictable thing happens next. So we got Yuta and Yuji, along with Rika and Yuta's domain expansion against Sukuna, and his only defense being Hollow Wicker Basket in order to ensure that they don't separate him from Megumi. Because with that technique extinguishment, we didn't even know that he had it. With that technique extinguishment, that means they have a way of separating Megumi from Sukuna assuredly. And with the domain's sure hit effect, that technique extinguishment can be used against Sukuna if he doesn't use Hollow Wicker Basket. So we'll just have to see. Just like MHA, it's incredibly unpredictable. We have no way of knowing. But My Hero Academia has that dichotomy of, like, every time the heroes do something great, the villains come back with an even harder hit. And when the villains do something great, then the heroes come back with an even harder hit. It's that give and take. But I dare say that Jujutsu tends to be far more unpredictable in that way. In that give and take a little bit. They tend to be a lot more unpredictable due to the nature of the characters that we have in this story. But I enjoy it, though. It's incredibly good. I love it. And I can't wait to see what they do. And I don't think are we going on break after this chapter? Hold on, let me check. Are we going on break? No, we're not going on break. So we're getting My Hero next week, and we're getting another chapter of Jujutsu next week. Both of those chapters are probably going to be incredibly interesting, and I'm looking forward to them. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen, with my reaction to the newest chapter of Jujutsu. We finally have Yuta Okotsu's domain expansion, and this man has resolved himself to defeating Sukuna, and he's incredibly strong. Yuta is no person to sneeze at. A conversation with a buddy, he says Jujutsu Kaisen reminds of Akame ga Kill. I can understand that. I can see it. I can kind of see it. It's been a while since I've watched the Akame ga Kill anime. It's been so long. It's been years even. That was actually a really good anime. But I can understand the comparison. Overall, I enjoyed this chapter. I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. If you're new here, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I consider it a success when people enjoy what I do. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for money. I'm just looking to make sure that people who stop by are entertained by my efforts. Hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, subscribe, even become a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples. Have a fantastic day.